Hello, yogis. So this class is going to be a 30-minute practice that focuses on bringing some warmth and mobility to our hips. So we'll move a little bit, we'll work to release some of the tension that we hold there, and then we'll end our practice in just a very brief Shavasana. And if you have time to linger a little bit longer at the end of this practice, I'll encourage you to do so. Okay, so let's actually go ahead and jump right into our practice today. If you have a blanket, that might be nice to have across your mat right now. And then you might want to have a block, something to just bring the ground a little bit closer to you so that we can ease into some of these postures a little bit just more gently. And we'll go ahead and start on all fours, on hands and knees. So make your way there, placing the knees right under the hips, and just look down and see that they are in fact hip-width distance apart. Wrists end up underneath the shoulders, and you're pressing down through the base of each finger, spreading through the fingertips. And then here, before you start to move, let's just establish a smooth and even breath, one that will carry us through our practice and support us. And then once you have found that, with your next inhale, gently tilt the pelvis forward, lift the chin, and just gaze forward. And as you exhale, you can round the spine and then press into the hands so that you're shifting your weight back, belly on the thighs, hips to the heels, forehead sinks towards the ground. Inhaling, just gradually, slowly lift yourself back up, chin lifts. Just a gentle movement in the spine. And then exhale again and round the spine and press back. And go ahead and do that twice more on your own. And just use this initial posture, these initial movements, not just to help bring some movement into the spine, but also to connect the movement of your body with your breath, so that your inhale lifts you and your exhale moves you back. And then you can draw yourself back up to all fours, and now we'll start to make some hip circles. So I'll have you shift your hips over to the right. As you press into the palms, start to slide them back towards the heels. You can come through center, shifting them to the left, and then forward. And we'll do that about 4 or 5 times, going in that direction. And you can choose to move slowly. You can choose to move quickly. Right? This is about creating a movement that feels good for you. You'll feel maybe a little stretch in the sides and the hips. Good. And the next time your hips are back by the heels, just pause and you'll just circle in the other direction. So a few times the other way. And breath stays nice and smooth and even. So there's no gripping in the breath. That kind of tells our body that it's in a nice parasympathetic nervous system state. And that is where we start to release our tension. So one more round. And then as the hips graze the heels again, go ahead and settle down. Sway a little side to side. This time you can just sink the head down towards the ground. If you want to take the knees a little bit wider, that can feel nice, so that you're kind of settling the rib cage down between the inner thighs. And then crawl your fingertips a little bit farther forward. And start to walk the hands way over to the left. And you can choose to have them on the left side of the mat, or I like to take them all the way off. And we'll keep our hands shoulder width distance today. Head ends up just halfway between the two biceps. And then see if you can crawl your right fingertips a little bit farther forward until you feel a lengthening along the right side and a stretch there. And then slowly walk the hands back through center and take them over to the other side. Again, left fingertips can scoot just a little farther forward. And feel long in that left side waist, spacious between each of the ribs. And then slowly back through center. Good. And then we'll inhale again and come back up to all fours. Knees can end up back underneath the hips. So we're just going to work to continue to add a little bit more warmth into our hip and pelvis area. And if your wrists bother you, because we are going to be on our wrists for this one as well, but if you'd prefer and you have a block, you can place the block down and then come onto the forearms for this. I prefer to have my wrists on the ground, but you can play with that and decide which one's right. You're going to bring your right knee just a little bit more towards the center of the mat, and then lift your left toes up so that left leg is still bent at 90 degrees. You're going to turn the left knee out to the side, pull it forward, and then slowly draw it down. So it ends up slightly in front of the right knee. And then you'll just do that a few times. So hip circles here. And if you feel like a little popping, a little cracking, one that's kind of like typical, it's normal. But if you do not enjoy the sensation, just make your circles a little bit smaller. Good. And then the next time the inner thighs are close, you're going to move in the other direction. So pull your left knee forward, lift it up to the side, circle the toes up, and then draw the knee back down. And again, a few times in that direction. And this way it could feel different, so choose how big or how small you want those little circles to be. Good. And last one. And then slowly let the left knee settle. Pause between sides, bring the knees hip width distance apart. And then we'll come to that second side. So left knee moves towards center, right toes lift up, turn the knee out, pull it forward and down. And again, just a few times like that. Notice the difference from this side to the previous. And then you can pause and circle the other way. So knee moves forward, you lift it up and out, toes lift, and then down. And just as circular and kind of fluid as your body allows here. Good, last one. And then let the knees both settle back to the mat. Pause again. And then curl the toes under. Start to stretch the hips back. Finding your first downward facing dog. Spread through the fingers, root down through the base of each finger. And feel the pelvis being almost like it's being pulled diagonally towards whatever wall is behind you. So that you feel a little lengthening along the sides of the waist. Okay, and if you have a block in the center of the mat, you can move it off to the side for now. Let's take a slow inhale and start to lift the right leg up to the sky. And then you can begin to stack your hips and bend that top knee. And then instead of letting the low back really turn into a little back bend, see if you can extend your tailbone towards your heel as you squeeze your heel towards your tailbone. Take a deep breath in, extend your right leg back out. And as you exhale, you're going to swing that right foot all the way inside the right hand. Okay. And then wiggle your left toes back. So you're in a nice long runner's lunge. Hips at about the same height as the shoulders. And plant your left hand either on the ground or on your block right along the left edge. The left hand to the left edge of the mat. And then we're going to open up into a twist and we'll move with our breath. So take a deep breath in and start to reach the right fingertips up. And if it's comfortable, you can even take that arm just slightly back, turning the gaze towards the ceiling. And then with an exhale, you'll release that twist. Place your right hand on top of or near the left and bow deeply to the inside of that right leg. A couple more times, slow, even breath. Inhale, open up into that twist, turn your gaze, turn the chest. And as you exhale, hips stay at that same height and then bow. Lengthening through the spine, drop the head. Twice more. Deep breath in. And smooth through that exhale. Good. Okay, and this time, you'll bring both hands down. The right hand is either going to come on the ground on the inside of the right foot, or you can take your right hand onto a block on whatever height feels right. Drop your back heel down so your toes turn to the left. And then with either the hand on the ground or on a block, you're going to try to hug the right knee and right upper arm together. Left hand can start on the left hip. Press your hips forward so the front of the body is in a straight line, a straight plane. And then start to stack left shoulder over right. If it's comfortable, turn the head. And if it's comfortable, left arm reaches up. Okay, you can either hold here if you want a little bit more openness, and this will bring a little bit more intensity to it. You slide your right hand back about maybe a third of the way and flip the fingers so that they're pointed towards the back of the mat. And then same thing, hips forward, shoulders stack, left arm up. Something comfortable for the neck, and just take maybe 2 or 3 more breaths here. Right, finding that resistance in the body. Maybe this is a little resistance in the hips, in the thighs. Maybe you can breathe into it. Breathe into whatever restriction, whatever constriction you find. Good, and then go ahead and slowly start to release. Bring the hands down and press back to downward facing dog. Inhale, sweep the left leg high. As you exhale, you can begin to stack the hips, bending that top knee. Again, try to keep space in the low back. So you're extending your tailbone towards the wall behind you, squeezing your heel in. And then inhale, extend that leg back out. And exhale, step your left foot through. Okay, find your long runner's lunge. Right hand plants on the right side of the mat or on a block. And then open up into your twist. Just opening the chest a little as you turn. Take a deep inhale. And as you exhale, left hand stacks on top of the right and bow. Lengthening the spine, lengthening through the sides of the waist. 3 times on your breath. Inhale to turn, to open. And exhaling to bow. Good. Again, let your breath communicate kind of a sense of ease. Not that every pose is easy, not that every movement is easy, but that you are finding like a sense of smoothness, of gentleness in that movement. Okay, and at the end of that last one, hands will come down, back heel drops, left hand either on the ground or on a block inside of your left foot. Hug the knee and the upper arm together. Right hand on your right hip, press your hips forward. And then maybe right arm extends up. And again, you can either hold there for a few breaths or you slide the left hand back, fingers turn towards the right heel. And in that version, you might find a little bit more resistance in the body, so breathe a little deeper. Good, last deep breath in. And exhale, slowly start to unwind, release, pressing back into downward facing dog. Okay, if you still have a blanket on the middle of the mat, you can just move it off to the side. And then we'll slowly roll ourselves forward to plank. If you have a block in the way, you can move it off to the side too. And we'll lower down all the way onto the belly. Okay, untuck the toes, just a little bit more warmth here. Roll the shoulders back and down. And then use the strength in the back, so no arm energy. As you inhale, lift both legs up. Lift the head, lift the chest. And feel the shoulder blades just gently drawing together behind you. And then release everything down. Tap the forehead to the ground. Do that twice more. Inhaling, squeeze the inner thighs together, lift up. And exhale, back to the earth. And one more, a little different this time. Inhale, lift up. As you exhale, hold here, but bring the tops of the feet back onto the ground. Roll the shoulders back, press the hands down, and inhale, start to curl up to cobra. The shoulders are rolling forward, pull them back and down. Lengthen up through the back of the neck. One more breath. And exhale and slowly release. And press yourself up through all fours. And stretch back to downward facing dog. And let's inhale, sweep the right leg up to the sky. As you exhale, step your right foot forward. Walk the hands to the left, so you're turning the toes towards the long edge of the mat, parallel the outer edges of the feet. And then find a flat back, take your hands on your hips, and inhale, lift yourself all the way up. Okay, we're gonna move dynamically through our twist. Helps to open up the hips a little bit more. So your feet, it's not a super wide twist. If they're really wide, it actually makes the twisting part more difficult. So you might take them, for me, it's about 3.5 feet apart. About 6 inches wider than your shoulders. Extend the arms out. We'll move on our breath, so pause here to establish it, inhaling and exhaling. And then inhale if you can for about a count of 4. And as you exhale, you'll start to bend your right knee and twist towards that leg. So your left hand plants in front of that right foot. If you can, you flip the fingers towards the toes, stack the shoulders, reach your right arm up. And inhale, keep that knee bent, slowly rise back to center. Exhaling to the other side. Left knee bends, right hand plants, stack the shoulders, turn from the belly. And inhale, smooth and steady to come back up. Twice more. You exhale into your twist, squeezing the belly back, turn. And inhale. And with control. Exhaling left. And inhale through center. One more time on each side. If you find space, open up, you turn a little bit more. Good. And then back up through center. You can drop the arms down by the sides. And then we'll take our hands behind us, interlacing the fingers so that you can draw the shoulders. Instead of letting them roll forward, you pull them back and down as the arms straighten. And again, the shoulder blades squeezing just gently together behind you. Feel the weight evenly distributed in both feet. Take a deep inhale. And as you exhale, hinge from your hips. And with a flat back, start to move into your forward fold. Chin draws a little inward. If you need to bend the knees to come down with a flat back, please do. It is possible to stretch the hamstrings with bent knees. Good, and then pause. Let the hands sink overhead. If you feel the shoulders kind of bunching up towards the back of the neck, try to pull them down. Lengthen the back of the neck. And with that action of the shoulder blades drawing down away from the back of the skull, let the hands sink a little farther overhead. Okay, let your breath convey a sense of calm and easefulness here. One more breath. Good, and then gently release the hands down. You can press the ground slowly away. Lift up halfway, flatten out your back. And as you rise slowly up, you might take a couple breaths, especially if you tend to get lightheaded coming up. It also helps to keep the chin drawn down and gaze towards the ground. Okay. All right, and then everybody's favorite pose, turn your toes out. We're gonna come into, we'll start in, I like to call it geisha pose just because it sounds more lovely. Some people call it horse stance, but that just sounds like a lot more work. So you're gonna bend the knees, sinking your pelvis down until your knees, or so that your knees are above your heels. And then pull them back. So there should be a little bit of feeling of openness in the front of the hips, so like right in the hip crease. Okay. And then you're gonna take your hands across your chest. And you can cross at the shoulders. You can cross so that you're holding on to opposite bicep. Try to keep the hips in that same position. And then we're going to circle 3 times to the left. So slowly start to lean over to the left. Your left shoulder will come to the inside of the left knee. Spine comes parallel to the ground as you move through center. Right shoulder, right knee, and back up. And it helps, for sure, to focus on your breath instead of whatever sensation starts to show up in the thighs. And it helps to think of it as welcoming, as adding this welcome warmth and energy. I think that was 3. Pause. Your choice here. If you want to give the legs a little break, you straighten the legs, come up. If you want to add a little challenge, a little extra warmth, you stay low. And then we'll circle 3 times the other way. So bending the knees again if you need to. Right shoulder, right knee. Slowly through center. Left shoulder, left knee. And back up. Try to keep the pelvis, again, at that exact same height. So you feel that movement coming from the spine, from the belly. One more time. Good, and then come back through center and then savor this. Straighten your legs. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, drop the arms. Turn your toes forward. And you can have your hands on your hips this time. Come into your forward fold. And just pause for a moment. Hands can either rest on the ground, or you can take them maybe around the ankles, the calves. And just a breath or two to let, that effort settle a little. Good, and then slowly press the ground away. Walk the hands back to the top of the mat and step back to downward facing dog. Good. Let's drop straight down onto the knees here. You'll make your way onto your seat. And as you come onto your seat, you're going to place the soles of the feet on the ground. The feet will be a little bit wider than the hips, and you might need to play with the distance. For me, from sit bone to heel, it's about the width of my mat. If you're facing another direction, just kind of estimate. Okay, and then we're going to start with the hands on the ground behind us. And slowly start to let your knees both drop over to the right. And try to keep the head at center. Lift them back up through center. And just gently let them drop the other way. Okay, you can continue to do that with the hands behind you, or you can do that with the hands in prayer in front of the chest. So knees drop to one side. Gaze continues forward. Back up through center. Just rolling across the sit bones to the other side. Okay, and do either version one more time. And if you're kind of waddling forward like I am, it's fine. We'll adjust in a second. Good, and then go ahead and come back up through center. You're gonna let the knees drop over to that first side. If you need to adjust, scoot your hips back a little bit. And then position yourself so that your right heel and left knee are pretty close together, just a couple of inches. You might want a block for this, or you can just use your hand if you don't have one. If you're using a block, the block will come down on the outside of your right hip. Fingers point away from you, and then listen to your body here. Make sure it's okay for you. You're going to press down into that back hand and slowly start to press your hips like diagonally forward. And the left arm can extend, not quite up towards the ceiling, more like you're trying to reach it in the opposite direction that you are pressing your hips. Roll the shoulders back, lift the chest. You can squeeze the glutes a little bit here. Take one more breath. And then very slowly start to release. Let the hips move back down. And then come over to that second side. Knees drop the other way. Again, just a couple inches between left heel and right knee. Left hand plants. Press your hips forward. Reach the right arm. And pause. Feeling hopefully a little lengthening in front of that right hip. Maybe along the right side, waist, ribs. One more deep breath. Good. And then slowly start to release. Good. Hands can come behind you. One more time, you'll let the knees drop over to that first side. And then we're going to fold forward here. So you have some options. You can keep the right knee bent as it is, so it's at about a 45-degree angle. Or you can bring the shin forward so that the shin bone is parallel to the top edge of the mat. Turn towards the inner right thigh and just gently start to let the torso begin to fold. You might drop forearms onto a block or onto the ground and just take a few slow breaths. And let's use this pose to start to slow the mind down a little. So maybe close the eyes. Drop into this sensation in your body. Notice any places you're gripping or holding. And anything you can relax. And slowly walk the hands back in. And we'll make that transition one more time. So rolling across the sit bones to come through center. Position your legs in a way that feels comfortable. And you can keep this front knee a little bit more bent if you prefer. Turn towards the inner left thigh. Inhale here. And as you exhale, walk forward and fold. Let your energy start to settle a little bit more. Using your breath to help with that. So if the mind is having a hard time in stillness, because we did move quite a bit, just feel a slightly longer breath, slightly smoother breath. And it gives the mind both something to do and something to focus on. And then slowly walk the hands back in, come back up. You draw yourself through center, coming to the middle of the mat, and go ahead and roll yourself down onto your back. And we'll end our practice just in a brief twist. So scoot your hips a little to the right. If it's comfortable for you, you can cross right thigh over left, draw the knees into the chest, and then let the legs drop to the left. And if they end up floating a little bit above the ground, you can place a blanket underneath them. Extend the right arm out. And then instead of kind of gripping or holding that right leg, maybe just gently place your left hand on it. So it's just a little extra weight, a little extra reminder to drop into gravity. And to come back through center, release the legs, drawing the right leg up first. When it's almost back at center, left leg can follow. You can scoot the hips through center and then a little to the left, left thigh over right. Moving your blanket if you need to, let the legs drop to the right. Left arm extends out. And then to release again, left leg comes through center first, right leg will eventually follow. Bring the hips back to the center of the mat. Give your knees a little squeeze. If you want to visit a short happy baby, you can. If you want to make some little circles by rolling the knees around, you can. Just take another moment for yourself. And then when you feel ready, extend yourself out for Shavasana. Feet towards the corners of the mat, arms drop to the sides. Let all the movement, any little fidgeting, settle out of your body. Relax any control over your breath. And let your awareness spread throughout you. Feeling all sensation in your body. Sensing an unobstructed flow of energy, unobstructed circulation. And just let yourself rest in that another couple of moments. And if you have more time to stay, more time to linger and let that practice soak in, I encourage you to do so, at least another 2 or 3 minutes. But if it is time for you to rejoin the day, very slowly start to breathe deeply, moving your body. Roll off to either side and gradually come up to a comfortable seat. As your hands, your palms find one another in front of the heart, bow your forehead in towards your fingertips. Taking a moment here to set an intention for your day. What qualities from this moment, from your practice, what qualities would you like to carry with you, to have support you as you move back out into the world? Bow in a little bit deeper when you find that. Sealing in your practice. Namaste.